Welcome to Conversations with the Marketplace, brought to you by the passionate practitioner consultants of Warburg Consulting Partners. Our Conversations with the Marketplace are designed to provide access to innovative and entrepreneurial financial leaders from across the country. We hope that by listening to their experiences, you might take away a few items that can shorten the learning curve, be easily implemented, and facilitate financial improvement at your organization. Our goal is to educate, entertain, offer new perspectives, and inspire you to take action. Without further delay, welcome to the conversation.
So welcome to this special edition of Conversations with the Marketplace, brought to you by the passionate practitioners of Warburg Revenue Cycle Optimization. My name is Sam Knox, and I'm a business development and talent advisor here at Warburg Advisory Group. Don't let my relatively youthful appearance fool you. I have worked almost every job you can think of, from baling hay on my family's 50-acre farm, to working food and retail at McDonald's and Old Navy, to my 3 years spent as a history teacher, or my current three and a half years of podcasting and stand-up comedy. And lastly, my current stint of a combined 7 years at the Cleveland Clinic and here at Warburg, doing the work that I have been doing. All of these are experiences that have made me the professional that you see today. It created a passion in me for working hard, communicating well, putting myself in others' shoes, also known as empathy, and using my skill set and passions to help our clients, friends, and their patients' communities. With that being said, some of the great aspects of my job is that I get to interact with clients across the country and I get to see firsthand the trials that our partners encounter and the triumphs that they enjoy. The healthcare industry has always been challenging. This is particularly true for our rural and community partners who are faced with daily impediments to their financial viability and obstacles to meet their community mission. Being from farm country myself, just south of Canton, Ohio, the Hall of Fame city if you're a football fan. If not, Rust Belt town with a lot of quality and a lot of character. This is a topic that is near and dear to my heart. The difference in saving lives in these areas is much tighter due to constraints. That is what makes this work so rewarding. There are many success stories in the market, but often all we hear about are the negatives, doom and gloom. We thought it an opportune time to bring forward some inspiring success stories from healthcare executives who are making a difference in the community and empowering their hospitals and moving them forward. We've had the privilege to see each one of these leaders in action, witness firsthand the impact that each has had on their hospitals and their communities. We hope you take some inspiration from their stories and use that inspiration to take action and impact your facility, practice, and community as well. I'm joined today by a new member of the Warburg family, Paul Stout. Paul, welcome to the family, sir.
Thank you, Sam. It's great to be here and great to be part of the family.
I agree. It's been 2-3 weeks, but it's been a pleasure to get to know you. And I mean, look at us now, right? Making a podcast. Beautiful. So, Paul, you joined the team earlier this summer as the client partnership director for revenue cycle optimization, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, joined earlier this summer.
Beautiful. Yeah. And I'm glad that you're here to partner with me today and discuss these terrific leaders. I'm the recruiting guy. You bring more of your expertise. And before we begin, give us a few minutes on your background, your perspective on the current healthcare marketplace, and talk to us about what you've learned from successful leaders across the country in your experience.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. Really appreciate the opportunity. So, by way of background, I've spent the better part of 20 years working alongside community hospitals and physician practices, helping them upgrade technology, optimize systems, processes, and strengthen the revenue cycle operations. So at this point, I've had the privilege of working with about 300 community hospitals across the country. I can tell you firsthand that these organizations aren't just providers of care. They're the heartbeat of their communities. There's a stat that always sticks with me, and that's that nearly 1 in 5 Americans rely on community-based health centers or critical access hospitals as their primary and often only source of care. That means that when these facilities struggle, entire communities are at risk and may be faced with having to travel hours just to receive basic services. And obviously that distance doesn't shrink when it comes to critical emergent care situations. On a personal note, I've spent my entire life in South Alabama, a state where rural healthcare providers have struggled mightily for generations now. That perspective has shaped my appreciation for just how fragile and how vital these hospitals really are. Now, I promise not to spend all our time rattling off numbers and statistics, and I'm certainly not going to get into all the other lists that Alabama ranks near the bottom of. But having recently met with a number of our clients, I can say with confidence that the challenges are very real, very consistent across the country. Tighter than ever budgets, increasing pressure due to payer regulations, workforce shortages, lack of local expertise. All of these contribute to the challenges facing our rural healthcare providers. But I've also seen how resilient and how innovative these hospitals can be when given the right support. And when we're going to we're gonna get into a couple of great examples of that today. What drew me to Warbird was that we're not a giant public corporation driven by quarterly earnings, nor are we some boutique startup. We are a practitioner-led firm made up of operators who have walked a mile in our clients' shoes. I love that we combine deep expertise in both acute and ambulatory care with a genuine passion for supporting community-based healthcare. As the client partnership director for our revenue cycle optimization practice, my role is pretty simple. Roll up my sleeves, partner with hospitals, and help tackle these challenges head on. My hope and really my motivation is that my kids and grandkids will inherit a healthcare system where no matter where you live, you have access to quality, affordable healthcare. Speaking of kids, my two boys play on 7 different sport teams year round, so I'm pretty sure my family is keeping our local orthopedics clinic in business.
Wow, 7 sports.
Yeah.
That is intense. Okay, before we move on, I have to ask, are you Roll Tide or War Eagle or other?
Oh boy, here we go. I have to go War Eagle. I'm a minority, and I'm also the black family, so yeah.
Oh, that's funny. But no, I agree. I agree completely. It's these struggles are really what drives us here. We have, healthcare systems, critical access hospitals, FQHCs around the country that we work with. And I'm not saying it's not beautiful to work with some of those giant systems. They're wonderful systems. But when you do some of this rural work, when you do some of these smaller hospitals that are out there, places like I grew up, and I'm sure you've been around and you worked with and grew up with, it really means more. So I appreciate you sharing. And you ready to get rolling?
Yeah.
First one?
Sure.
Beautiful. So, ladies, gentlemen, etc., let's get started. I want to introduce Brooke Bollman. Brooke is the CEO of Salem Memorial District Hospital in Missouri, and she has done a tremendous job improving the financial viability of Salem Memorial. And she has some qualities that we feel very important, and she'll, dive more into. She's an entrepreneur, a mentor to her staff, and a leader. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and move to it. Let's welcome Brooke. Thank you for joining. Brooke, take it away.
Well, welcome, Brooke. Thanks for being here today. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm very, very well. Thank you for asking. Hey, so before we get started, why don't you take a couple of seconds here and just tell us a little bit about yourself and your great hospital?
Okay. I am Brooke Bollman. I am the CEO at Salem Memorial Hospital, a rural hospital in Missouri. I grew up in a small town. I'm a small town girl at heart. Having grown up in a town of fewer than 1,000 people in Kansas, I think rural healthcare resonates with me really well. I grew up in a town that, it took everyone to come together to really make the community thrive. And that's a lot of what we do in healthcare, rural healthcare in particular.
No, that sounds great. And I think you have one of the hardest jobs in America, being the CEO of a rural hospital, where it's not as though they're just minting money for you just to spend. Every dollar is earned and is the result of focus. So based on that, talk to us a little bit about some of the challenges that you're facing, your hospital's facing in this current environment.
Like many other rural hospitals, I think at the top of the list is workforce challenges. We, like many other hospitals, have shortages, and that's a challenge nationwide. It's rural healthcare, it's metro, it's a nationwide issue. So we struggle with that. Reimbursement challenges, the ability to offer a broad range of services with limited resources, the lack of capital needed for equipment, for brick and mortar, the education, the knowledge base of staff. I think that is a continuous battle healthcare is ever changing, and it's a lot to keep up with when your team is wearing multiple hats. I think instead of seeing those things as setbacks, I see them as opportunities, the opportunity to think differently about rural healthcare.
No, that's terrific. So just like in today's environment, I mean, so you're exactly right. Challenges are coming from every different direction. And as a CEO, you have to really work and find ways to bring information in, because there's a lot of things that you may not be expert on, but you need to talk with people, assimilate information, so just kind of walk through, how do you do that? How do you get the information you need so that you can take informed action, so that everyone below you has a plan and can be productive and work towards the positive outcomes?
I think it is really, really important to rely on data. I have a background in accounting, so I have that. That helps. I don't necessarily have the clinical background, so it's a double-edged sword, I'll say, but I think the data available to you is really, really important. And one thing I will say about Salem in particular is, being nestled in the southeast region of Missouri, we have a limited ability to obtain some of the data that we need. But we have a great working relationship with the Hospital Association and several other rural health networks that helps us to pull data that compares us against others, either in the industry nationwide, across the state, regionally. I think there's a lot of ways to dissect that information, but the data that you're able to abstract on some of those platforms is incredibly beneficial. I think it's incredibly beneficial to have that data to show and help visualize where you are in comparison. I think that's important to have for your entire team, for your nurses, for your providers, for your frontline staff, all the way up to your board. If you don't have the numbers to help them visualize, I think it's oftentimes hard to engage them. So I think that is a really important component of leading and making those decisions within a rural health organization.
No, that's terrific. Now, you and I became acquainted with each other 18 or 24 months ago, shortly after you got to Salem. And, I feel as though it seems as though you've been there for 4 or 5 years now. But I think it's mostly based on so many of the implementation of projects and focused action, that you've taken over your short tenure there. So maybe share with us, some of the successes that you've encountered over your tenure, and, maybe some of the things that you're most proud of.
Well, for you, I guess a recap, and also for anyone else listening, whenever I first joined Salem, a little over a year ago, we had less than 1 day cash on hand. Accounts payable had been aging for 2 years, maybe a little more. We were ending that fiscal year right as I was coming on with a more than $2 million loss. And closure was not an option for that community. That community, the Salem community serves about 35,000 people annually. And those are the people that would otherwise face a 30 to 50-minute commute to the nearest emergency room, much like any other rural community. And so I remember coming in, I think it was my day 7 in this new position. And I remember sitting in my office and staring at the wall thinking, okay, I was ready for a challenge, but I was not ready for this. And so I went home that night. I had several conversations that afternoon whenever I learned of this. I went home that night and I said, okay, it's time to buckle up laces. Closing isn't an option. What are we going to do? And so I worked to develop a 30-day plan and a 60-day strategic plan. And that very next day, I remember calling in the board. I rallied my team. I rallied my providers, and we implemented it. I had some of their buy-in. We discussed it. We updated. We changed a few things. The board had some recommendations. The providers had some recommendations. The frontline staff had some recommendations. And I was very clear. I was very transparent. I did not hide a thing from them. I said, this is where we are. And we are going to try to make sure you get paid this week. And so we very quickly dove in. I think we started We cut a lot of inappropriate contracts, things that could have been handled and handled with more diligence internally. We implemented a spending freeze. We reorganized staff. I assigned a lot of staff that were in maybe clinical office settings back to patient-facing roles. We had a number of positions open. Of course, given the situation at Salem, it was really hard to recruit. And I said, okay, we've got all of these positions open, but we have very able hands. We're not in a position to bring on more staff. We're worried about paying the staff we do have this week. And so we did a lot of reworking of our organization, the organizational chart. We reassigned roles and responsibilities. We negotiated debts. We reworked our inventory pars. We updated our charge master. And that was all within the first 30 days. I'm sure I'm missing several pieces, but those are the big things that come to mind that we did right from the get-go. And then we sat down and we continued 1 month at a time. Then we were developing and further curating the 60-day plan, and then a 90-day plan. And then next thing you know, fast forward and it's a year later and things have changed drastically. So, I think when you think about the successes and what improvements we're proud of, the things that it took to get to that point, I think it is really, really important to emphasize the culture, because I think leading with purpose is one of the most important messages in rural healthcare. You absolutely have to foster a culture of education, of transparency, of engagement. One of the things that shocked me the most at Salem was I'm having these conversations, these very hard, very real conversations about the situation we were in a little over a year ago. And I'm sitting in front of them and it was all new. It was like deer in the headlights. What in the world? No one had any idea the position they were in. And that's scary when you stop and you think about the impact to a patient base of 35,000. And so that is one thing that we worked really hard to do. I engaged the leadership team and the board, and we started sitting down and we've done education. We've done the transparency training. We've talked a ton about building strong and informed independent teams and what that means. We've talked about cultivating those relationships so that we're preventing the burnout. We are ensuring continuity. I think everyone knows CEOs turn over every 4 to 5 years on average. And when an executive leader turns over, it's way too often that we see teams just kind of left in shambles. And I believe that's because they're dependent and we're not creating these informed teams and developing them professionally. So we did a lot of training on cost reporting, on reimbursement. They now understand how important it is to properly allocate expenses to the right cost centers and, what bad debt means to your cost report. Right. And all of those little things that go into making reimbursement or optimizing that reimbursement for a hospital. So since then, we have increased wages. We have paid down all of our aging AP. In fact, we are ahead. We pay well in advance of our due dates, which is a major accomplishment. We've updated all of our benefits. We've added and re-added positions. We have improved our recruitment and retention practices overall. We ended our fiscal year. This is incredible, but we ended our fiscal year right around $6 million positive. Now, do I think that we're going to do this again this year? Probably not. That's a little bit of an anomaly, but I think it speaks to the focus. I think it speaks to the determination that we had to keep those doors open. And we knew that we had to make some tough decisions. We had to really lace up our boots and go to work. And we did that. So I am really, really proud of the team. They're incredibly resilient. Salem has a lot of tenure in their team and they all pulled together. The board, the medical staff, the leadership team, the community. everyone pulled together to really support and to hone into each of those strategic plans and to refocus on the mission that was at hand instead of just brush fire management.
Well, is that all? Jeez, Louise. Well, as you and I have shared on the past, you mentioned culture, and I think one of your best accomplishments has been instilling that consistency with your staff. You say what you mean, and then you walk your talk. And as I've shared with you, as we've been looking at things, you've got a group of people that work for you now that fight for you. They're on Team Brooke. They're on Team Salem. And I think that's part because they see that things are working and they can see that things are improving and they're not worried about missing payroll. They can see a potential future that they could be part of. So I think that's really just a wonderful accomplishment for you. And I'm really happy for you and your team. So before we let you go here, given everything that you've said, is there any piece of advice that you could share with us for people who are maybe sitting in your seat and finding those similar situations, or like you mentioned, they just took over the role and they're doing what you did and looking at the wall and going, okay, what do I do here? Maybe there's just from your experiences over the last little bit, what can you share with them as a piece of advice?
I think this has been an exceptional year, an exceptional year for Salem, but also for rural hospitals across the country. There's been a lot of changes nationwide with administration, political changes, and there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of anxiousness, I would say, around the what's to come. And if I had to close with anything, I would say rural healthcare is not broken. We are resilient and we are innovative and we are capable of thriving. And I think everyone needs to get comfortable with rethinking those traditional models of rural healthcare. It needs to look different. I think if we've learned anything over the past few years and, even since COVID, it's that rural solutions are going to have to look different. And that's a strength. I think we should be challenging the status quo, analyzing the data, engaging the teams, the board, the community, investing in them, and in technology. We have to think 10 to 15 years down the road and what that looks like. We, as rural hospitals, as rural healthcare, we have been in the habit of relying on Band-Aid solutions instead of looking for sustainable, scalable improvements. I think one of those things is technology. We have to leverage technology to be more innovative, to automate some of the processes, to take some of the manual load off of our staff. And I think that is going to be game changing, as you think about the future of AI and implementing that for prior authorizations or for claim denials or documentation. There are so many opportunities out there, and I think that's incredibly, incredibly exciting. I think people often consider rural the last ones to know, the last ones to get on board, but I think differently. I think that rural gives us the opportunity to adapt more quickly, to be more flexible. We're not waiting on, this hierarchy of decision makers. So I think that gives us the upper hand. And I'm really excited to see where we can take rural. I think as we continue to keep showing up and keep advocating and keep fighting for our neighbors, our friends, our communities, I think healthcare, rural healthcare especially, is going to rise. I think together we're going to redefine what rural healthcare means.
Now that's wonderful. And if you need to, I think you just came up some ideas for some T-shirts and stuff. So maybe we market that. And so
I'm super energized. I am currently at the National Rural Health Association conference, and I have been sitting here networking, listening to some really great speakers, and I'm excited to get back to work.
yeah. That's wonderful. Well, Brooke, thank you for taking a couple of minutes. Your story is inspiring. It really resonates with the fact that if you decide to do, you can, and you can improve the situation, you can provide stability, and you can have a direct impact, not only on the people that work for you, but that 35,000 people who may never know your name, but you've impacted the organization and the healthcare mission of your hospital. So congratulations with that. I am appreciative of your time. Thank you very much for being with us today.
John, thank you.
Brooke, thank you for your time today. Keep in touch. That was awesome. How about you, Paul? What do you think?
Yeah, no, that was terrific. That really was.
I'm gonna just break the fourth wall. I am reading some notes off of my phone from when we were talking earlier, doing some pre-work. So if you see me looking over here, that is why. The first one, I thought this jumped out to me, Paul, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. She sees things as opportunities instead of setbacks, and I grew up sometimes negatively thinking. You know what I mean? Where a lot of it, you hear it before you do it yourself. And when somebody says something like that, you go, there's no way that works. Reframing the positivity, the words and the selection you use. And I want to hear your thoughts on that because I thought it was very interesting when she was talking about it.
Yeah, it's kind of the whole glass half empty, glass half full argument.
For sure.
Yeah, no, I think Brooke's passion really stood out to me. Not just for her hospital, but for the 35,000 people that live in her community.
Mhm.
And I think what drives that passion, and I think why she's a glass half full kind of person, is just because, like she said, closing that hospital wasn't an option.
No.
Those folks rely on that organization for their vital health care. And it's critical that we continue to work with these places and these folks to ensure that the facilities not only stay open, but that they continue to thrive in today's environment.
Absolutely. And another thing, this jumped out too. She said something. I'm summarizing, but she said work can be. It's kind of like work can be good or bad, and it depends on the way you look at it. You know what I mean? Like, I used to coach as well, and the difference between a great CEO, coach, etc. All the best ones have the same intangibles, in my opinion. The group think mentality, where not necessarily in like a just follow the leader way, but like come together, have one goal, drive it forward, be there for people, and understand that everyone is different. And I think that's what really stuck out to me, as well as CEOs leaving every 4 or 5 years. Now, I personally didn't know that stat. Maybe I should have, and we can talk about that later. But I find that really interesting that when one leaves, if they don't have that, every group is kind of functional on their own without that person being there, it can be a real struggle. So I also wanted to hear what you thought about those 2 points because they were fascinating.
Yeah, no, and I think I think I agree with Brooke's comments about the C-suite turning over every 3 or 4 years. That's a very accurate statement. I think we see that across the country, especially at the smaller rural community hospitals. And I think what she said about breaking down the silos, getting everybody on the same page, even having those, willing to have those awkward conversations about the current state of affairs. I think that's very, very important to, like you said, kind of build that foundation and that infrastructure at the facility so that no matter who's leading and who's in the C-suite, the organization can continue to function and serve the community. So I think that's critical break point that she made there. There's a lot of hospitals out there that are kind of dependent on the C-suite to give direction and make some of these decisions. Where in this case, it sounds like Brooke's kind of taking that on her own and made some things happen. So real good success story there. It was great.
Yeah, and she hasn't even been there that long.
Yeah.
It's like that's what's also really impressive. I mean, just coming in there going, showtime, So I thought that was amazing too. Well, next up, Paul.
Let's
take us to the next guest.
Let's move on to our next guest. Rafael Olivares is the CFO of Starr County Memorial Hospital in Texas. We've had the privilege of following Mr. Olivares' success over the past decade. One thing that stands out about Mr. Olivares and Starr County is their ability to create a culture that facilitates staff loyalty and consistency. Many of the staff we've worked with at the hospital a decade ago are still there now today. That's incredibly impressive. You don't see that very much in this industry. So we recently had the opportunity to catch up with Mr. Olivares and discuss a little bit more about what's going on in Starr County.
Well, Mr. Olivares, welcome. Thank you for joining us today. How are you?
Fine. Thank you for asking, John. How are you?
I'm very, very well. Thank you. Hey, before we get started, could you just tell us a little bit about yourself and your wonderful hospital?
Hello, my name is Rafael Olivares. I am the finance director and comptroller for Starr County Memorial Hospital. I was raised and have lived in our rural community for most of my life. I'm 59 years old, been married for 33 years, and the father of two boys who are now young grown men. My background is in accounting and finance, and I earned a bachelor BBA degree with major in finance back in 1989. Our hospital, Starr County Hospital District, DBA Starr County Memorial Hospital, has been in operation since 1975. It is an excellent place to work at, and we have an excellent benefits for our employees who have shown loyalties. We have a lot of employees that have stayed with us for a good number of years.
That's wonderful. Thank you for that. So let's get started. So can you just tell us some of the challenges that your revenue cycle and your finance operations faces as the controller of a rural hospital? So what are some of the things that are you're most concerned about, or the things that you see in the marketplace that are things that you need to address to make sure that you can keep that institution moving forward?
Before that, I'd like to say a little bit more about a rural community. It is named Starr County, Texas, and we have an area of approximately 1,229 square miles. And according to the 2020 census, our population was 65,920. Starr County is located in deep South Texas and is part of the Rio Grande Valley. Bordering counties in Texas include Hidalgo, Zapata, Jim Hogg, and Brooks County. Our county seat is Rio Grande City, and as its name implies, we're physically located along the Rio Grande River and are part of the U.S. southern border with Mexico. Starr County Hospital District, DBA Starr County Memorial Hospital, it's a political subdivision of the state of Texas. We are a public hospital that levies ad valorem taxes on real and personal property within the district. Our hospital provides inpatient, outpatient, ambulance, and emergency care services primarily to residents of Starr, Hidalgo, and Zapata counties. SEMH also operates 2 rural clinics, 1 imaging center, 3 ambulance substations, and 7 nursing and rehab centers. I have worked here, like I mentioned, for 24 years now under different capacities, but have been mainly responsible for taking care of our general ledger, payroll, and accounts payable functions in our facility. Yes, I have to respond to our independent auditors, the IRS, and facilitate or provide specific data elements for the preparation of our cost report that has to be filed with Medicare and Texas Medicaid every year. However, I am very proud to say that we have a wonderful team of dedicated and responsible employees who always strive to provide a great service with integrity and respect. As part of our hospital's administrative team, we try to comply with our hospital's mission, which is to improve the well-being of our community by providing high-quality, accessible, and compassionate healthcare services while embracing innovation, respecting diversity, and fostering trust and collaboration. However, we always seek to try and get expert advice from different companies to help us stay in compliance. Now I can go into the challenges that our revenue cycle management faces in a rural hospital. Being a hospital located in a rural area sometimes comes with many challenges. One of the main challenges we've encountered in the past has been to decrease the number of AR days or being up to date with our billing and coding functions. For instance, in rural areas, sometimes it can be difficult to find good certified medical coders, which are an important part of our billing process and RCM. Sometimes, like in our case, we may have a very small coding team of 3 or 4 persons, and when one of them has to be out for an extended period of time, that someone leaves or retires, then you are short staffed, and that could represent a big problem. Luckily for us, there are organizations out there like Warbird Healthcare Consultants, willing and ready to help, who can assist you to reach your goals of being current with your claims filing and billing functions. When I started working with Warbird in-house, coding for our ED visits had stayed behind due to a prolonged illness and unfortunate passing of one of our certified coders. We average about 1,100 ER visits a month. We were under the risk of losing money due to not filing our claims on time. Another challenge our hospital has encountered is maintaining and keeping a charge master in compliance and current status. We have to rely on expert advice to complete our charge master audit and review at least every 3 to 4 years. These may vary according to your specific hospital needs, depending on your hospital's increasing service lines. As you know, hospitals may lose funds and even get in trouble for failing to maintain a charge master in compliance. Lately, price transparency rules have made hospitals become more transparent, and we have to be in compliance with that mandate. Another challenge our hospital has faced through the years has been the collections of bad debts. Being a public hospital, some patients will argue that they pay taxes, implying that they do not have to pay their medical bills. With modern technology, patients change their phone numbers on a regular basis, and it becomes very difficult to contact them in order to try and collect money that's owed to the hospital. Some of the actions I've taken to improve our bad debts collections is to work with different independent agencies. Sometimes we have worked with more than two companies at a time, and this is just to make them compete against each other for the business and to try to do a better job for you. Also, more reporting requirements like CMS have affected our hospital in different ways.
Well, wow, that is just tremendous. And one of the things as you were talking, so our relationship goes back many, many years. And I think in every conversation I've ever had with someone at Starr County, everyone refers to the community, their mission, and your people within the hospital. And so I wanted to spend a couple of seconds here real quick. So the culture of your hospital is not an accident. You guys created this environment where people want to thrive and want to help and want to be part of it. What's the secret sauce? What is it that you're doing at your hospital where every other hospital's got this just massive turnover that's happening? You found a way to make it so that people want to stay, want to work with you, and are committed to that hospital.
Our hospital's success primarily depends on many committed individuals working together as a team to find solutions to the many problems and requirements being imposed by CMS, Texas HHSC, and our patients. I have never been hesitant to recognize when expert advice and or assistance is needed to get better results for our facility, to ensure accurate and timely payments for our hospital. Proper revenue cycle management depends on being proactive to challenges and new regulations. To become current in our ED coding, we contracted Warbird Healthcare Advisors and are now able to stay current in our claims billing. Our normal and usual time it takes us to submit our claims is about 3 weeks. One of the reasons that employees love to work for our facility is that we offer very good benefits and pay competitive salaries. We treat everyone as family, and we invest in our employees, since we value our employees as our most valued and important asset for the hospital. I've seen so many cases where a CNA, for example, certified nurse's aide, first becomes a licensed vocational nurse, later on becomes a registered nurse, and is now an advanced nurse practitioner working at our clinic. And this is due to a scholarship program that we have in place. We believe in investing in our own and to growing our own people, and that I believe creates a lot of loyalty from our employees, John, and they want to stay because they know that they work at a place where they can grow in their both their professional development.
No, that just is tremendous. And I will say, in dealing with a lot of your staff, the word family comes up a lot. And the great news is that these people will do whatever they can to make sure that they don't let the people in the organization down. They work hard. They take advice. They work at it. It is just really a nice thing to see, where a lot of times you get into hospitals and no one wants to take accountability or ownership. And here you've got it where they just don't want to let you or the CEO down. They want to not be the one that's the obstacle. So I see that from, 30,000 feet. And I know you feel that just in the day-to-day management of it. That's one thing that you should be really proud of. And a lot of congratulations go into that, because that's purposeful, and that's the result of the leadership of the hospital. That's just wonderful.
Thank you, John. Yes, we are very proud, and we are true believers in what we do, and we're always trying to evolve. I've seen this place grow. Like this hospital was created back in 1975 and became a hospital district through an act of the state of Texas and supported by local visionaries, one of them being the late Dr. Mario Ramirez, who became a county judge just to make sure that a hospital district would be created in Starr County. He saw the need. He saw the fact that we're in a rural area, that we may not be able to attract many physicians from the outside who love to I guess practice in larger cities where there's many more things to do than in small towns. So yes, in fact, we're very proud, and some of of his relatives still work here. Our CEO is a cousin to that Dr. Ramirez, the late Dr. Ramirez, who back in the 1970s, pushed for the creation of the hospital district. We hear from time to time here in Texas that small rural hospitals are facing many financial difficulties, and I've seen several hospitals close down here in the valley. There was another hospital district. I believe we're one of the few hospital districts south of San Antonio, Texas, that still managing to stay afloat and to enjoy a strong financial position for the past 10-15 years at least. We hear from our auditors from time to time telling us that, hey, there's certain hospitals in West Texas that have challenges meeting their payroll, and I see you guys that are always finding ways to participate in different programs, to apply for grants, but it takes a big team. It's not a one person's show. We have a very good business office manager. We have excellent employees. We have a great administrator who's been our CEO since 1984. So she can tell you way many more stories than I can. She's been here for the whole 50 years since this hospital opened its doors. And again, we've seen our hospital grow from 75, 80 employees all the way to 320 something employees that we currently have. 328, I believe, is the current count. And we've expanded. We've added to rural health clinics. We provide the only land ambulance EMS services in our county, 911 emergency services for our county of Starr. And we're staying strong. We're doing whatever it takes, like you mentioned, to keep us afloat and to keep us going. But yeah, we're very proud of being part of this organization. This Even though we're a small local hospital, rural, we have been able to keep our services, keep an ED open 24/7, 365 days, keep on maintaining, providing OBGYN services. As a matter of fact, we improved a little in that area, because back in the day, family practice physicians were delivering babies. Nowadays, we have two main OBGYNs that not only deliver babies, but also provide women's care in our organization, in our hospitals here. So yeah, we're very happy for that, and for our population, for our patients.
Now that's just awesome. I just love hearing it. And before I get to my next question, one of the things I will say is that a lot of hospitals in rural will use it as a reason why they can't succeed. And I think you guys do the exact opposite. You embrace it and you use it as motivation to say, not only are we going to succeed, we're going really provide to our community the levels of care that you could get access to in a big city in a very small town. So it's just great to see. I mean, you are a shining example of what we would hope all of our rural partners out there, and they should take inspiration from a lot of what you're saying. So speaking of that, given everything that you're doing, maybe you can just, what one or two things are you and your hospital most proud of? I mean, accomplishments that have just happened recently that just says to yourself, we're doing this right, and we're moving forward in the right direction.
We celebrate that we have been open and in good standing with CMS and Medicaid for more than 50 years now. That's been, I guess, one of our biggest challenges. But we're also proud of having added to our facility services. We implemented wound care, we've implemented more surgical procedures. We were also doing a lot of things on an outpatient basis nowadays because insurance companies and everyone working for hospital know this. It's becoming more difficult to admit patients for an in-house stay, inpatient stay. Nowadays, everything has to be done more on an outpatient basis due to medical criteria having to be met. But yeah, that's one area. Another thing is that we have tried, and due to proper management of our facility and to caring for the funds that we get, we try to keep our taxes low. Our tax rate, it's only 25 cents per $100 of value, and that is to offer land ambulance services 24/7, to offer hospital care, and this is only for maintenance and operations. We don't have any debt. We don't have to issue bonds or anything like that. So we're blessed in that, and that comes through very careful management and making sure that everything gets done, and recognizing the need for help when we have it, because in small areas we realize and we understand that we cannot do everything on our own. Many times we have to seek for expert advice and assistance from companies out there that specialize in doing all these fine work that they do.
That's just so wonderful. I mean, I'm just sitting here smiling just because I've known you guys for 10 years, and it's just wonderful. I mean, I'm just so pleased to see how well you guys are doing, and how consistent you are, and how passionate you are about not only the successes that you guys have had, but the pride that you have about keeping that family together. So, and I know that the family isn't just the 328, it's the 19,000 people that are in your community, which is your real family. So I think that's just wonderful. So hey,
Thank
so
you.
before we let you go, maybe you can boil down and maybe provide a couple pieces of advice to, maybe there's some rural CFOs and controllers that are out there that could benefit from some of your experience, and maybe there's a couple of words of wisdom that you could impart with us that they could take away and use at their facilities.
Well, if I could provide some words of advice for your listeners out there, John, that would be to reach out and look for help from professionals out there who specialize in areas where you're having issues. Like with any other problem, you first need to identify that particular issue and admit that small rural hospital may not have all the expertise necessary to solve every difficulty that comes your way. Healthcare is forever demanding, changing, and evolving, and you must adapt to changes quickly to continue operations. On many occasions, we have heard that some small rural hospitals must reduce services to stay operational, or even worse, they have to close down their doors forever. Remember that you cannot do everything on your own, and that you're as good as the team that you have around you. So do not be afraid to call and seek expert advice from companies that specialize in areas where you identified to be having issues. At Starr County Memorial Hospital, we value our employees as our most valued asset. We invest in our hospital's employees' education to make them better at what they do. And like I have mentioned earlier during this interview, I have seen many co-workers further their education thanks to our hospital's forgiveness loan program. Some employees have become paramedics when they started working for us as EMT basic technicians. Others have become registered nurses and advanced nurse practitioners when they began working as nurses' aides. I've seen radiology and cardiopulmonary techs when they began working as clerical staff. Recruiting of physicians represented a major issue for us in recent years due to some of our local doctors' decision to reduce their work amount or load. And we formed an affiliation agreement with a larger hospital that's located in Edinburgh, Texas. It's called DHR. Through this agreement, we were able to implement hospital services in-house, OBGYN specialty care in our facility, emergency department physician coverage, and general surgery services. And we have an ongoing relationship, and we have to recognize that some small rural hospitals may not have all the recruitment tools necessary to bring doctors in to provide medical services at their facilities. So it's important to sometimes create or form affiliations with larger hospitals to stay current and to continue providing services, much needed services in medical in areas where are deemed as medical shortage areas.
Wow. I just love talking with you. I'm always inspired every time I talk. I'm ready to run through a wall for you. And we're 3,000 miles away right now, and I'm ready to go to work for you. So I'm so thankful that you were able to take time out of your schedule to spend a couple of minutes with us. And I think everyone that's listening can really benefit from your experience and your results and your commitment to not only the community, but, your people. So I am so appreciative. Thank you for joining us today. I'm going to continue to watching, and whenever I need some inspiration, I'm just going to give you on speed dial and give you a quick call.
Well, thank you, John. You're most kind. Thank you for your kind words, and take care and be well.
Oh, wow. That was some great insight from Mr. Olivares. It sounds like while a lot of hospitals in his region have recently closed the door, it's clear that his team at Starr County have really found a formula for success, or kind of a secret sauce, so to speak. So I'm especially impressed with how they flipped the script on staffing. They're investing in their employees' education, building partnerships with larger organizations to help strengthen their recruitment efforts. I really think it's important to emphasize Mr. Olivares' point too about not being able to do everything on your own, and the importance of finding partners who specialize in the challenges you face. We hear this often from rural hospital CEOs, and it's a consistent theme. Success comes from choosing the right partners to help navigate the obstacles. So I think that was some good takeaways I had from Mr. Olivares. How about you, Sam?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. What really stuck out, he's been working with us so long that, he used both of our names. So we used to be Warburg Consulting Partners, and now we're Warburg Advisory Group, and he's used both because he's been such a long-term client with John. You know what I mean? It's stuff like that that's really beautiful. And another thing that stuck out, and this is big for recruiting, and people don't really do this because I don't want to speculate why, Paul. In my opinion, and I'm it doesn't matter necessarily, everyone's got one, but having dealt with these things, places, they don't invest in their future from within. And sometimes I think the best way that you can work is when somebody leaves, one of those longtime people, because we heard it from him. There have been people there the entire time it's been open, which is like unheard of, And what really I think sticks out is that they invest in the future. So when somebody leaves, if they have somebody ready within to just, promote within, which is what I think is the best way to do it. I'm a huge soccer fan. They do that all the time. If it's in a perfect world, you take the kid that's 18 and you just slide them in. And now I know it's not exactly the same. There's not 18-year-olds being a nurse and then nurse practitioner like you discussed, but it's the same concept. And then lastly, the family feeling. It's that culture. When you build a culture from within, the greatest sports teams have it. The greatest businesses have it. When you care and you also get people from your community, you can't really go wrong. You really can't. And I think Mr. Olivares it's a testament what they've done. Not only Salem, but right here. I thought it was brilliant. So, Paul, you got any last thoughts before we start to wind down? This has been great.
Yeah, thank you for being with us today. We hope that this view into the C-suite has been inspiring. Both Brooke and Rafael are transformational leaders who put their people and communities first. I can feel their passion for service and commitment to their mission. If you have any questions for either Brooke or Rafael, please reach out to Sam or myself and we'll get you in touch with them. We hope you join us for our next conversation with the marketplace as we bring you conversations with practitioner and a payer. We'll speak with a truly inspirational pediatrician who is fighting to get mental health access and coverage for his patients. We'll also speak with an incredible trainer and educator from Missouri Medicaid. She will provide us with great insight into creating a partnership with Medicaid and improving your outcomes. Before we end, Sam, do you have any final thoughts?
Well, Paul, I would say it's been a pleasure, but it makes it sound like we'll never talk again, like we're on the news. So it's been a pleasure doing this with you. For anyone listening, please reach out. We love nothing more than to help. It doesn't matter who you reach out to. We're a team. We're a family. I know it's a euphemism that's used a lot, but we really do mean it here at Warbird Advisory Group. So appreciate you guys. Paul, again, a pleasure, and thank you.
Thank you again for being here with us today. Remember, success in your revenue cycle is never an accident. It's the direct result of leadership and focused action. Until next time, for Sam Knox, I'm Paul Stout, and we'll see you in our next conversation with the marketplace.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Conversations with the Marketplace. If you have any questions about this topic, suggestions for a future podcast, or questions in general, please email us at jbain@warbirdcp.com. That's jbehan@warbirdcp.com. Our goal is to provide content that is meaningful and represents your needs. Please visit our website at www.warbirdconsulting.com, where you can contact us directly, receive industry updates, and gain access to on-demand webinars. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen, and leave us a 5-star review. We hope this podcast provided new perspectives and, most importantly, prompts you to take action. We want Conversations with the Marketplace to be your go-to healthcare financial management podcast. Please come back soon and join us for another episode in our educational series for hospitals and hospital systems. Until then, stay well, be entrepreneurial, and take action.